I've been playing Zenless Zone Zero for a month now, and these are the top 5 things that I recommend changing. Before we start, keep in mind that this is ranked in no specific order. Watch until the end to see if you'd like to see these changes too. With that, let's get straight into our list. For my top 5. I think that this is the most common, but I need to tell this as early as possible because this is the most criticized part of the game. Personally, and I'm sure many others think that the TV part of the game feels very boring. In fact, it is so boring that I have to put a Subway Surfer video beside of this segment of the video. Like, if there's a puzzle inside the TV, I would personally just go through it without reading the instructions on how to properly do it and hopefully solve it as quick as possible. I know that they added this 2x speed thingy, but still, I think that is not enough because it is that boring. What I could recommend is making exploration quests or any other TV mode even shorter than it is now because I still think that it is taking a very long time to finish. But I know that this is already a huge part of the game, and I know that removing it would lead to a lot of changes, such as the story that you get inside the TV would have to be remade. Maybe I just don't like it because it's just skill diff, because I don't really read anything in the game at the current patch because I just gave up. If the combat of this game wasn't so satisfying, I would have left a long time ago now. But that goes to show just how wonderful the combat in this game is. For my top 4, it is the story. Don't get me wrong, I have no problem with the comic-like design of the story. I just think that the story itself is very boring, and I find it bizarre since all of the other games that I've played that are made by Hoyoverse gave me stories that I would remember for a lifetime, especially on Star Rail. The game's story is masterfully made. I'm not expecting the same caliber of the story as Star Rail, since I find it simply impossible at the current state of the story of this game. But I'm at least expecting something like a Honkai Impact story. Who am I kidding? Honkai Impact was super amazing too. Maybe just half as interesting as Honkai Impact's story then. Just don't kill Ju Yuan as a character development like what you did to my Himeko. A recommendation to the story team of Zenless: just do what you did at the start of the story. At the start of the story, everything was so hype, and the cutscenes were fire.
They are just the fire.
And that dude cursing surprised me. But as we progressed into the story, everything started to feel boring until we got a cutscene where it started to get hype again. It is this point that I think is not good, because I think that having a cutscene carry your story is not good for a story-based game. Now, I know a lot of players generally just skip everything except for the cutscene, but for the people who actually read everything about the story, the build-up of the story is very important to them, since this makes it more interesting and gives more hype for them when the cutscene finally plays. Now, I did say that the start gave a good impression for me, but I don't mean that you should keep cursing every time you get a chance to, because underage teens still play this game. But I want the animations, other than the cutscene, to be at least interesting to an extent to where I would stop for a second and look at the conversation happening. Maybe by then, I would be more careful about skipping since I may be afraid to miss something. The story when we first go to the outpost where we met Miyabi was hype because the cutscene was very beautiful, and I think that is one of the strengths of this game's story. But still, the buildup of the hype, I think, is not there. That is why, after a few more attempts at trying to understand the story, I just fully gave up and just started waiting for the cutscene and skipped everything. I may have no right to talk about the story because I did not actually finish it from start to finish, so I would like to ask the opinions of the players who actually religiously finished the game's story. Do you think that the story is bad or good? And what could you recommend to the story to stop people like me who skip stories from actually starting to try and understand them? For my top 3, this one is just a quality of life update, because I feel like this could make everything easier for all the players. I hope they would add this feature to change the time whenever you want, because currently, as most of you would know, You could only change it every single day on the game, and you can only do it forward. Since most of the quests can only be accepted and done at a certain time of the day, this leaves players into finding another way to pass the time in-game by either redoing a quick combat quest or exploration quest just to advance into the day, because currently, that is the only way to advance the time other than clicking the rest button. Having this quality of life button would give players easier time in playing the game. I actually have no idea why they didn't just add this time changer thing in the release of the game, because their other more popular game called Genshin Impact already has this function for years now. They should have already known that there are a lot of missions that could only be done in a certain time. So why not just make a time changer tool? For my top 2, this will be about the characters. As you have noticed, the majority of the girl characters in Zenless Zone Zero look underage. Well, I know that there's nothing wrong with that, but as an Opai supremacist, we would like to see more characters like Rina, Ju Yuan, and Jane Doe. Also, I would like to see more daddy-type characters in the upcoming banners, since currently, if you're not a furry or a big cyborg fan, your only choice for a daddy is Anton, who doesn't take a bath like Toji, which I think is very attractive for the weird people who probably also like feet. But there are few choices when choosing to play human boy characters. Well, more like that's your only choice. Finally, for my top 1. This is going to be very controversial, and I don't really know how to explain this, but it would probably be better to start to say that combat alone is not going to keep this game afloat. Currently, I feel like Zenless Zone Zero relies on combat to be its main attraction, but in my opinion, this alone would lead to its downfall. You could say that Honkai Star Rail generally just relies on its story more than its combat. And for that, I will say that you are absolutely right. But at least the story is not stale and could change every time, which leads to a more engaged audience. But what about on Zenless? Yes, the combat is amazing, but at the end of the day, combat will begin to feel very repetitive. And once the community starts to feel that, then this game would be as good as dead if they don't manage to make their story more engaging or make new gameplay that would keep the players on coming back. This new gameplay that I'm mentioning could include combat in it too, because yes, the arcade is fun, but let's be honest, you don't really go there every day just to have fun. If you are doing that, then good for you. But a large majority of the players do not do that. Also, yes, new characters could make the combat feel less repetitive, but not all players could get the new characters every patch. And because of that, my idea is that once a new character drops, you would be able to rent that new character with Denny's for 3 days with equipment that cannot be changed, just like inside the story quest. But the difference is, you can use that character wherever you want for 3 days. After that, it will expire. This is helpful for everyone to actually be excited for new releases, and also would help them understand the character on a much deeper level, and would help them decide if they want the character or not. Hoyoverse. This could be a really good move business-wise too, because who knows, maybe after using the character for that long, they would begin to feel that they need that character and would end up swiping that card. This is just my idea. You could change it in any way you like. You could also make it just 1 day if you think that 3 days might lead to players being bored with that character. What about you guys? What kind of changes or new gameplay would you like to see in the game? Leave it in the comments. It may not look like it, but I read every single comment that you guys send. That is why I saw how badly the last video turned out and decided to take a break, since I felt like I wasn't giving it my all at that time. Also, if you're one of my subscribers or old viewers, you may have noticed that I'm using an AI voice. In the future, I do plan to use my own voice when making my videos, because in that way I would be able to show my emotions and actually deliver jokes that an AI cannot because of its straight tone. And also, by the way, if it's still not obvious, I'm actually a dude in real life. I mean, just look at my profile picture. It's a dude. I just felt like I had to say that, especially for my longtime viewers, because it may cause some confusion since I use a girl voice. I only use the girl voice because, after listening to the other versions of voices, it feels like it is the most human out of all of them. The reason that I use these AI voices is because I don't have anywhere where I could record my voice privately because I'm currently in a boarding house. Because it turns out that recording your own YouTube video in front of others is really fucking embarrassing, especially when you're talking about anime girls and their big booty. In the future, since I'm about to graduate from school, I will be able to use my own voice. I just wanted to share that because I felt like I was hiding and playing a character that isn't me for the longest time, especially cross-gendering. I kept thinking of this situation where, when I finally show my real voice, you guys might feel like this commercial from that one Japanese video where their father was actually their favorite girl VTuber. I feel like I've made this longer than it should be, so I hope that you liked this video. Thank you for listening and watching.